Welcome to the first hour of Weather Center Live, and thanks for joining us. I'm Chris Warren.
And I'm Maria LaRosa, in for Jen, who is just in for Jen on AMHQ. Glad you can stay with us. But no matter where you live, this is something really interesting. There's a little bit of everything going on today, from rain to thunderstorms, even snow. And there's a lot to talk about.
And there is some dangerous weather to go along with.
So for the last few days, you probably see this as a familiar sight. It's the spin in the atmosphere shown beautifully by the water vapor imagery. In the absence of clouds, the water vapor shows us where the motion in the atmosphere is. And you see that spin right there. It's giving the snow in the west, but it's also going to be kind of the powerhouse, the lift, the oomph that we're going to see. That's going to bring about some showers and thunderstorms for today and even on and through tomorrow. But you look at the threat today, and if you could sort of maximize all of the prime ingredients, the available energy for showers and thunderstorms, this is where it would be, from Midland all the way up into Kansas, that area in yellow. Then we start to factor in every other thing that goes into severe weather, and you have the winds, the low-level to mid-level winds. They're out of the south, so that's helping to bring the warmth, it's bringing the moisture, and over that same area is where we have that highest severe threat for today. In fact, as Chris mentioned, the 3 out of 10 on our Torcon for southwest Kansas, western Oklahoma, and that Texas Panhandle. Over the next few hours, we'll keep an eye on this area for those showers and thunderstorms to pop straight through the evening rush. So from Dodge City, basically west of Oklahoma City, as we get into the late evening hours, locally heavy rainfall, and of course the lightning, which is something we'll be talking a lot about today. And then as we go in through the next 24 hours, you can see, again, with the cloud picture, this is going to be that next area of concern, central Texas, with powerful showers and thunderstorms as we get in through tomorrow. A lot like January and February, where the sun just never came out, and we were talking about rain for weeks and weeks. We got a setup going on. So this is where we're starting off, right? That area of low pressure that's driving the moisture up from the south, but all of this is going to eventually get that nudge to the east. Chris was talking about what it's doing to the south. Plenty of deep moisture, but as it moves off to the east, now we're starting to gobble up a little more territory, and who's going to see the rainy days and the thunderstorms for that matter. And it's starting as we get into Saturday afternoon and evening in through the northern plains and into the Midwest, Detroit, Chicago, Louisville, as Chris was talking about, Cincinnati, and eventually into the Northeast. So Buffalo, Albany, Pittsburgh, D.C., your Cherry Blossom Festival, all those blossoms and the petals are going to be coming down with those showers and thunderstorms. And really from the Tennessee Valley all the way into the mid-Atlantic too. And not just light showers. We're talking about some pretty good drops of the rainfall into the bucket as well. So those showers and thunderstorms are going to be in the forecast.
Lightning certainly is amazing, but we know that lightning is dangerous. And one thing about lightning is that it is incredibly random in its behavior. And Maria, we know last week something tragic happened that had never happened before in North Carolina.
Right. The Fayetteville Observer reported that 2 people were killed by separate lightning strikes in North Carolina on the same day, despite the extremely slim chance of 2 separate incidences in the same state on the same day. They were only 40 miles apart from each other, and those were the first 2 deaths by lightning recorded this year in the U.S.
And when it comes to lightning deaths, people that are struck and killed by lightning, we want to take a look at the statistics and give you an idea state by state from last year. Not real big numbers in a lot of states without anyone being killed by lightning.
Right, and you see, on the order of 1 or 2, but definitely Florida standing out with the most last year with 6.
And as already mentioned, Florida thought as the lightning capital of the world for many people, even though that's not the case whether we factor in other continents.
Exactly. This, I think, is a pretty incredible layout of the data. Just as looking at the last 8 years. Look at 2007, 45. But look at the general trend here over the last 8 years. Downward, right? On the order of 20, 25 per year. But look at the trend by decade, Chris.
It's phenomenal.
In the 40s, you had more than 300 people killed by lightning. In the 2010s, 26.5.
I mean, every couple of years, it looks like it's almost cut in half.
Right, exactly.
It certainly is an amazing statistic there to look at that. We also know, though, that there are some areas that are more prone to lightning. And lightning is a serious problem, we know, and it's a very dangerous problem for golfers on the golf course.
Exactly. Our segment, So You Think You'd Survive, heads out to the golf course to ask a very important question about lightning. I have to say, it's so hard not to run for under a tree if you're out in the middle, rather than get on the golf cart and try and make your way to the clubhouse. But
Right, but that's the thing. You need to get to that shelter as soon as you can. And there's some kind of false senses of security, thinking, okay, I'm in the, I'm in a golf course. There's tons of tall trees. It's going to strike the tree before it strikes me. However, it's so random that lightning might attach to different places.
Right.
And so it's really tough. So your best bet and the only safe place to be is inside.
And as always, be aware. You know, if you have an app and you see storms coming, think about what your shelter is, maybe what hole you're going to be on at that point, and make sure you have a way to get through.
And there's something else. You may have heard of it, and it's an expression, but it's also a real thing. It's called bolt from the blue. And essentially what that is, it's being struck by lightning, there's blue sky overhead.
Which, you know, of course doesn't make sense, especially when you see a scene like this. You know, you have so many visual cues when you have thunderstorms approaching you. The dark skies, maybe you hear the rumble of thunder, maybe it started to rain already, but sometimes you don't have that.
Right, and the thing is, if you can hear thunder, even if there's blue sky overhead, you can be struck by lightning. So let's take an example right here. We have these dark clouds behind us, behind Maria, and I'm gonna walk out here into the blue sky. And imagine this is a couple miles away. Every footstep, say like an eighth of a mile or quarter of a mile, whatever. But we end up being a mile or two away from where you are. Blue sky, look up and it's blue sky. Now the thing is, if you're in the south or somewhere where there's a lot of trees, might not even see that storm.
Right, and we know lightning doesn't go from top to bottom straight down. It can arch, it can go for miles, perhaps like this lightning bolt.
Just like that. See how it came right across, and it can get you. And it would attach to me instead of coming down and making contact with the ground.
And we're not talking about a mile or two. Some of these lightning bolts can stretch 10 miles. So imagine being 10 miles from the center of a storm. That's how far away you could still be struck. And again, having blue sky over you.
And oftentimes we talk about the dangers with these thunderstorms, and you have to remember that lightning with thunderstorms, by definition, is a possibility.
Right, exactly. So now you know.
And coming up a little bit later in this hour, during this hour here on Weather Center Live.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Maria LaRosa.
And I'm Chris Warren. We are diving deep into what goes into detecting lightning. All about lightning for the next hour and a half here on Weather Center Live. Because right now there is a lot of thunderstorm activity. There will be for days to come. And oftentimes lightning kind of is an afterthought. But really it should be in the front of your mind when thinking about strong storms.
And this is the time of year everyone's starting to get out, you know, after a long winter. So things you need to know, and maybe some things that you didn't know about lightning. We'll tell you about it.
Also, there are other threats like this.
Tracking that severe threat, but also the possibility of some tornadoes. We're going to talk to you about it. And of course, all of the wet weather, the heavy, heavy rainfall. So here's kind of an overview of where we think not only the thunderstorms, but the severe weather in particular, that area in red, all the way from Houston, San Antonio, on up into Dodge City. Spotty damaging winds, certainly a threat, but also the possibility of hail. And yes, even a tornado as well. The conditions are there. The water vapor imagery shows beautifully the little spin that's really wreaking havoc when you think about it, because we've got snow in Denver, but this is also going to help trigger and help enhance that severe threat across the Central Plains. So you take a look at that, a little snapshot. If you could really optimize the area where the air is going to lift most efficiently and most readily, the available potential energy, you've got this area in yellow, Midland, up into Wichita. And then you factor in the other ingredients, right? You have that low-level moisture's trying to get pumped in there, and that's all coming together where we have that threat. Southwest Kansas, western Oklahoma, and Texas Panhandle, 3 out of 10 on our TORCON. That means a 3 in 10 chance within 50 miles of that area of seeing a tornado. Time frame wise, it's going to be a busy afternoon. Showers and thunderstorms possible. As we get into the evening and the overnights from Dodge City into Wichita, that threat shifts a little bit further to the south. We're talking central Texas, Chris, as we get in through tomorrow. Well, as the warmer spring weather arrives, you can feel like you're stuck in an allergy storm. It's why 15% of us will spend this spring sniffling and sneezing. In today's Brainstorm, Sam Champion explores the reasons. For cities like Salt Lake City, it has been a crazy 48 hours for you, from the dust storm to the snowstorm, and look at how it's piled up. 5.8 inches for the storm total. That puts you to 15.4 inches for the year, or I should say for the season. On average, 54.5. So you are definitely in a snow drought. Salt Lake City, not so much a ton of additional snow today. You see a few snow showers out there right now, not impacting the airport. That's some good news. Maybe some reduced visibility here and there on I-15. Kind of a different story in the Denver metro area. If you're traveling along I-70, you have snow coming down pretty good right now at Denver. Not affecting air travel. Just check the airports there too. Traffic is running just fine, but visibility is down to about half a mile. But what about in the higher elevations? elevation. So key when you're talking about snow totals. Look at Estes Park through Saturday, 17 inches, where we're kind of forecasting maybe about an inch in Denver. So elevation and temperature, huge, huge, huge when you're talking about this weather story. Tonight, 45 in Denver, so you're actually going to see some of that snow change over to rain. You go up about 2,400 feet in elevation. In Estes Park, you've got 35 degrees. Now watch what happens with the atmosphere in that depth, right? At the surface, Denver, 46 degrees, but 2,000 feet up, you're at 36. Well, about 2,400 feet higher in elevation, you find Estes Park, and guess what? Surface temperature, 36 degrees. So that's where we're going to see the snow and the longer duration of the snow, therefore the higher accumulations. For Estes Park, snowfall as we get in through this afternoon, the evening, and even on into tomorrow with our temperatures pretty steady into the mid-30s. And you can see Denver, that changeover to rain will be happening this afternoon as our temperatures start to get bumped up here into the mid-40s. Believe it or not, Chris, maybe in a few thunderstorms here by tomorrow morning.
Snow to thunderstorms, and Maria, we have the cuts and some bruises, but otherwise okay. And Maria, that is just so scary.
But it kind of goes to show, man, you have to know your environment here. That was just way too close to the edge.
And waves are so tricky, too. I mean, they could be a nice day, then you can get one big one come up.
Absolutely. Well, coming up, the latest city-by-city timing for today's